Come on in, come on in, come on in. All geeks are welcome in this space. Let's learn together and seek his face. I'm Lem Philyaw, a.k.a. Bad Gamer Elite, your host for this Sound Maiden podcast, sponsored by lifepromotions.org. God, Games, and Geekery gives us an opportunity every month to chat about the crossroads of our passions and our faith. I can't wait to learn and discuss with you. Geeks, nerds, what's up? Episode 52. This is the last episode of the year. If it comes out when I want it to. Guys, 52. Technically, I guess that would be 52. You can listen to it every week. Oh my goodness. So if you're just starting, you could go back and start where we were. Now, the first one started, really short. But you can listen every week and be a year behind. Or you can start here, keep going. The shorter ones start before episode 40. I want to say episode 42. I could be very wrong on that. You know why? Because I don't look back. I should look back. That's what we should do. We should look back at some point. Not a clip episode, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. But what has been going on this month with me? Well, there's been a bit. There's actually been a bit. But game-wise, I have been loving Fortnite. I know. I say it every month. I love Fortnite. And I say that because this time last year, I would have poo-pooed Fortnite. If you would have told me, Lem, you were playing Fortnite every night or every other night or close to every night, it averaged out to be every night, I wouldn't have believed you. I'd been like, yeah, right. And I bet I'm playing Minecraft some too. Well, earlier this year, I did start playing some Minecraft with some of my buddies. So this is a year change, a year of trial, just trying stuff out. But yeah, so I've been playing some Minecraft. I am playing Immortals Phoenix Rising, a Ubisoft game, and man, that's fun. It's got the comedy, it's got action adventure, it's got platformer, it's got puzzles. I'm not happy about the puzzles, but it's got puzzles. And it's been an all-around great game. I've been playing Fuser. Of course, I've been playing Fuser. We love the Fuser. And what else have I been playing? I've been doing a lot on TikTok. I've been meeting some friends over there, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. I have been exploring who I am as a Christian, as a person. I am making moves and understanding who I am in my brain, understanding ADHD because I haven't gotten my diagnosis yet, but I did go start my first appointment, and so far all signs point to yes. If you haven't been able to tell, but yeah, all signs point to yes so far, and I'm learning about that and what that looks like. And I'm finding some very interesting things out. If you want to know, hey, email me. Hit me up on the socials. If you want to know where I'm at with that, just feel free to hit me up and we'll jump on that. What else have I been up to? You guys, I'm officially a game reviewer. For Screen Hub Entertainment. They do mostly film, and I jumped in, kind of like what I did with Res TV. I said, hey, what do you got going for games? And at that point, for Res TV, it was, hey, what do you have for photos? And they said, nothing. And I said, I'll do it. And they said, okay. So I've been doing some 1-minute game reviews, and they've loved them. They've loved how they've come out, and we're working toward cleaning them up and getting them better, and I'm super excited about that. That's been a highlight for sure. I met them on TikTok. That's one of the things I want to talk to you about. I met them on TikTok, and Alex and I have been having a good rapport there. So I love it. I love it. I love it. It's been a lot of fun. I started back bullet journaling. If you guys don't know what bullet journaling is, some people use it and they make it all artistic and everything like that. Other people, it's just 100% function, 100% function. And for me, it is going to be a mix of the two. I ordered some stencils so that I can keep it clean. That's one of the things that I've had trouble with in the past with my bullet journal, is just keeping it clean and organized. So I'm hoping that will help. But I'm back into it, and it's helping me get things done. And so I'm very excited about the progress that will be made there. So yeah. I saw Spider-Man No Way Home. No spoilers, but if you haven't seen it by now, this should be coming out the end of the month of December 2021. If you have not seen it yet, guys, go do the thing. Go do the thing. It's a fantastic romp with some friends. That's all I'm going to say. All right. The end of this, actually, the beginning of next month, beginning of January, by the time this comes out, it'll be about 7 days, and we will be on the road for Quake. One of our sponsor this week is Quake Youth Ministries. Guys, if you go to quakeevent.com, that's quakeevent.com, you're going to see where we're going to be this year, or 2022, depending on when you're hearing it. But quakeevent.com. The first one I'm going to be at, I believe I'm going to be in Cincinnati. Is it going to be Cincinnati first? I should probably find that out. No. It's got to be Cincinnati. And so I'm very excited. Bethany from the stream will be there with me as well. If you ever watch the Life Fest lives, John and Maddie will be there. So if you are a youth leader and you're interested in Quake, check it out. quakeevent.com. There's still time. The director, Lucas, who is also part of the God Games and Geekery family, is very adamant about, if you just found out about it and you want to bring your youth, we will find a way. So check it out, quakeevent.com. Stoked. See you soon, Cincinnati. You guys, so much has happened this year. And we talked about this past month about being thankful. And so much has happened this year in the form of gifts. We just celebrated Christmas. We're coming into the new year, and we're looking forward to what will be happening for us this year, what God's got planned for us this year. And one of the things that happened to me this past year, one of the gifts that I've gotten this past year was a whole new community, a whole new set of family on TikTok. And I got to sit down with RevNGeek. That's REVN Geek, Cliify. And we had a great discussion. I got to let you know, this week's is going to be a long one. It's going to be a long one. So strap in and let's get talking to RevNGeek. Guys, as promised, we are here. I told you it was happening. You knew.
I don't know how to deal with being an event, man. I don't know. It's just,
you guys,
the guy who didn't get invited to parties in high school is an event. I don't know what to do with that. I don't.
We have RevNGeek. RevNGeek. Guys.
How are you?
It's TikTok sensation.
Wait a minute now. Now you're overselling. Okay. I hit you with a basic chop and you flew over the top rope. Calm the selling down a little bit. That's not quite where I'm a guy who has a few folks that follow him and has some fun. I don't know about sensation.
Okay, hold on.
I thank you. I thank you tremendously.
Let's do this real quick, just super quick. I'm gonna pull up TikTok. Okay. I'm looking at Discover. RevNGeek,
yeah.
And I am seeing 4 to 5 times the amount of following that I have. You are a sensation to me.
Okay. And I'll take that.
Oh my goodness.
It's funny. It's funny you bring that up because my first career before ministry was radio. I was a disc jockey. I was a morning show disc jockey before I was a pastor. I mean, that's a profession that lives and dies by the numbers.
Yes.
And I've done my best to try to not get too far down that thinking only about the numbers hole, because I know where that leads if I'm not careful. That leads to me saying what will build the numbers, as opposed to, well, what do I want to do and what am I being called to do with this?
Ooh.
And that is a very, very tenuous place, because if you discover that folks respond to something, but what if it's nowhere near the stuff I want to do? Well, then I hate what I'm doing just because I want the numbers, and I don't ever want to be there. I want to keep doing what I'm enjoying, and if folks enjoy it, that's great. I mean, I get folks that ask me, how do I grow? Even though I don't think I'm the person to ask, because I have 19,000, but there's people out there with 200,000, 500,000. Like, how do I grow? And I'm like, I just did stuff I liked, and people seem to gravitate toward it. If I go about it with a strategy of trying to follow trends, and I feel disingenuous, people will smell the disingenuous on me.
Yes.
So I don't want to, and the same goes for evangelism in general. When you do outreach in your church and you do mission in your church, if you go into it with the attitude, well, I hope this brings people in on Sunday morning, folks smell that on you.
Yes.
They absolutely smell it on you. In this deconstructed, postmodern age, people smell when you're the only reason you're interested in greeting them is you want them to show up for attendance. And yes, I'd love them to join in for the membership, but I can't say that's the goal, or then then I'm just selling a product like everybody else. So it's a careful balance. It's a careful balance.
I love it, guys. Yeah. We haven't even gotten to know who he is yet, and we're deep into this conversation. I love it. All right, so
man, you gotta know. I'm an E. I am an extrovert, and the pandemic and not being able to talk to people like this absolutely drove me insane. So you put me on a podcast, and I just you crank up the key in the back, and I start running around the room. That's kind of the way it works. So
you can't see it, but I'm holding up to the screen. ENFP. Right over here.
Exactly. I'm an ENFP. I am an ENFP. Yeah, baby. I'm an ENFP and I'm an Enneagram 2.
Yeah.
I'm that's who I am. I'm an ENFP to the core. I'm married to an INFJ.
Oh, wow. That makes sense.
That's always interesting. But yeah.
Here's the thing. I always hear if you have 2 different from your partner, like two letters different from your partner, that's a great relationship because you cover each other.
Yeah. But you have to, at the same time, you have to be sensitive to the fact that what is fueling you might be killing them.
Yeah.
So like, here I am, and here, like we're getting amped up because we're ease, and here we are in a conversation. You take me to like if I were to go to like a gathering of TikTokers that were like meeting for the first time.
Yeah.
I would just be like feeding off all of that energy, and I'd want to be there all day. An hour in, my wife would be looking at me, tapping the watch, going, I'm done.
Yeah.
And not in a rude way, but just in a survival.
Yes.
I can't take any more of this. I have got to tap out.
Yes.
And you have, and I have to know that about her, and she has to know me about me. If I go away to a conference, she knows to call me, say goodnight to me at 9:00, and knows I'm going to be out all night, soaking up my energy.
Yes.
She just knows that's what I'm going to be doing, and then that's fine. Go get what you need, and we know that about each other.
That's great. All right, so tell people your name and what do you do?
Okay, my name is Cliff Haddix. I am a pastor in the Presbyterian Church, PCUSA. I have been since 2005, I believe, is when I started. Second career. I am currently a pastor in Dayton, Ohio, in the southern part of the city, in the old industrial part of the city. And in the wake of the pandemic, I found myself oddly equipped for it. When a lot of pastors were like, how the heck do we do this?
Mm-hmm.
I was in a unique place because I'd been doing podcasting and I had been on the radio and I had all the hobbies and the equipment. I contacted a few buddies I knew. I didn't know you at the time, but folks I knew who did game streaming and learned about OBS and went about setting up a digital ministry for our church.
Woo!
And had that up and running in about 2.5 weeks into the pandemic. I had us doing a what I call a hybrid model, that I had I would pre-record everything up to the greeting and the passing of the peace.
Yes.
That would all be pre-recorded. And then I would come on live like a streamer.
Yeah.
And I would engage with the chat channel. I would welcome folks wherever they came in from, and glad to have you here. And then I would play all the next section, which would have my pre-recorded sermon that I had shot in a cinematic style around the building, not just in the pulpit, but like sitting in the balcony or leaning over by the stained glass window and lighting it really well. Yeah. And then I would come back for the prayers of the people and do those live and take live prayer requests. And then I would go on about all the end of the service. And that was good. And that was going really good. And we just, we'd reach in the folks in the congregation and all that. Well, along that way, a friend of mine who I have to thank / blame for TikTok, my best friend in the world, my gaming brother in the world, my nerd brother, Ryan Allgood. I used to do a podcast with Ryan. And Ryan and his wife, Christine, kept sending me TikToks before I even had the app.
Yeah.
They were sending them to me in Facebook Messenger. And it was like fail videos or like a lot of the meme stuff or the trends or the oh no, no, all of those things.
Yes.
And the thing was, until that point, all I knew of TikTok was the ads that were on Facebook. And at that time, TikTok was doing a really bad job of marketing what TikTok was.
Yeah.
Because the only ad I saw was the duet of the
yes.
That was all I saw. And I was like, what is that? I don't know that I want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And then they started sending me some of this funny stuff. And I was like, okay. So I was actually visiting with them for a weekend. And and they were like, hey, why don't you just download the app? And so I did. Right about as everybody was going to bed, I downloaded the app. And about 5 hours later, I had come to understand a bit about what this Wild West thing was.
Yes.
I didn't fully understand it yet, but I understood the impact of it. And I understood that there were no rules here in terms of what you could do and not do.
Yeah.
That it was going to figure out who I was and start feeding me content that fit me.
Yeah.
And as some buddies of mine that were asking me about TikTok the other day said, your FYP will tell you who you are. There's an old saying.
Yes, it does.
There's an old saying in the church that the budget is the true statement of what the mission of your church is. And the same, I think, can be said for someone's FYP.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're about. Because TikTok wants to keep you engaged, so they feed you the stuff that you're engaging with. And those first couple of days, I was, was a bit of a weeding out process.
Yes.
And who did I like? Who did I not like? Who did I follow? Who did I comment on? And eventually, it got into where I am now, which is what I am, which is a nerdy gamer who is inclusive in my faith and who I welcome to the table.
Yes.
And who enjoys sitting down with folk, who enjoys getting to know folks' stories, and who likes some silliness, likes some wrestling, likes a few things, and has a very progressive view of the world.
Your wrestling series, your wrestling how to enter, that right there was where I was first introduced to you.
Yeah. Oh. Well, I mean, and that came, that I can't remember. I need to go back and look to see if that came about the same time I got my 1 million view video. Because for a while I was I was responding to duets and stitches and was doing a few things here and there. But then I did a thing of the Christopher Waltz "It's Like a Reward" soundbite, where I was at the communion table, and it was like after the service is over, and that "It's Like a Reward" plays.
I remember that.
And I take a bite of the bread from the table, and some folks got real mad real fast, and they were commenting. And there were also folks who didn't know that some churches used real bread for communion, and they were like, wait a minute, we never had that. We had these wafers.
Yeah.
And it led, like, the comments were exploding. And the next thing I know, that one had 1 million views. And right about that time was where I was just working on worship for 1 week and walking around in my robe in the sanctuary and thought, I kind of feel like Ric Flair today. So as a joke, I shot this thing about like coming in like Ric Flair, and I added added all the effects and the lighting. And then I'm like, well, who else could I do? So I did Triple H, and I did Kane.
Oh,
and I did the
so
Ultimate
good.
Warrior. And then they just started going. And the thing with the wrestling thing is, and people keep asking, why did I stop? And I don't want to know, I don't want to say I've completely retired from the wrestling bits. But like, I did all the wrestlers who were really impactful to me that I thought the entrance made sense. Because there were plenty of entrances that had iconic music and they just walked to the ring.
Yeah.
Like that's all they did was they walked to the ring while their song played. I was looking for the ones that they had some bravado, or they had some gesture, or they had something that made it interesting. And at the same time, those took a lot of time to do.
Yeah.
The Undertaker one took like 4 hours to make right.
Wow.
The Goldberg one, I had to get my kids to help me and come shoot it. And there's a lot that took extra. The Glorious one, the one where I'm all the choir members up in the balcony, that took a long time to shoot and edit in such a way that I overlaid all the video.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of work. And about that time, I started doing the words of the day every day, not just for Lent.
Right.
And that got huge response from people who were saying, I
love word of the day.
Who were saying, I needed to hear this today. I had a hard day, or I'm going through some grief, and I needed to hear this. And as much as and this goes back to what we talked about before, as fun as it was to hear people say, man, that wrestling thing was so funny that you did, it was 10 times more meaningful that someone said, that word thing that you did touched me and helped me in a difficult place.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this has got to be where my focus is. I've got to make certain I have one of these for every day, as opposed to having the wrestling every day.
Yes.
So I kind of backed off on the wrestling and kind of started pushing more toward making certain I had the devotion. And as someone who at his heart loves to entertain and loves to make people laugh, it was a push. I did have to push myself a little bit to stay low, let that go. If you become inspired, you can go back and do some of those again. But this meaningful thing is important, especially when I started going live and people started showing up for worship on Sunday morning in my TikTok live. These aren't people that knew me before. These aren't people on Facebook. These are just folks that from TikTok have discovered me, and for some reason, as they say, they feel safe in my worship space that I watch over.
Yeah.
And now I've got like 20, sometimes 15, 20 people that show up for worship in the TikTok channel.
I love it.
And I've got folks that have taken on leadership roles in there.
Love it.
That they've become like impromptu ushers. And they welcome people in. If they have questions, they know that I can't answer them in the middle of the worship. They answer those questions. And they're like, oh, he's Presbyterian. He's out of Dayton, Ohio. Is it a safe place for me here? Yes, absolutely. It's a safe place for you here. And like, they take care of it. And I've given some of the moderator status. So if somebody does get out of hand, they can toss them. But we haven't had a lot of that. Now, I say this now, watch, they'll all show up. But And I've told them, I'm like, I don't mind if somebody makes a joke or an aside, because I do that in worship all the time.
Yeah.
That has almost gotten me in trouble, though, because a couple of times I have about busted out laughing for something I saw in the chat channel.
For example?
Just last week, we had our cantata. So they were able to see a lot of the members of my congregation. And whereas I enjoy meeting as diverse a group of people as I can, I am the pastor of an old Presbyterian church that all the folks do look a certain way. and somebody commented and said, I can almost smell the unseasoned chicken in that room. And I was like covering my mouth trying not to laugh. I was like, that's good. I was like, that was good. I'm going to give that one at least an 8 out of 10 stars. That was good.
That's fantastic.
But at the same time, I have done my best to integrate those folks into worship as well, because when I take the prayer requests, I have my iPad up on the pulpit so I can keep track of the Facebook and the YouTube comments where the prayer requests are.
Right.
But I also take them from TikTok, which has been interesting too, because then you have cases of, all right, Twerking Hard for the Money is asking that we pray for their grandparents. But I do change the name. I don't come out and say twerk, but I did have one day, I think it was Twerking Hard for the Money was the username. And I'm just like, I want to say Working Hard is in here and they're asking us to pray. So we're going to pray.
You're going to say working.
T working hard for the money.
Good on you, T.
Yeah, good on you. We're with you. We're praying for you. And my congregation, there's a few of them that were on TikTok, not a lot, and some of them don't really understand it and grasp it. But like when they heard like I had a video that had 1 million views, they're like, "What?" Like, yeah, I had one, and when they hear that we have like 15, 20 people that they've never met, will never encounter. Of course, they're all asking like, well, how do we get them to pledge? And I'm like, stop making that the goal.
Yes, exactly.
If they give, that's great. If they were to give, that's great. And we have had a few people that have made donations, and we have a link for them if they want to do it. But by no means is that my goal. Again, my goal is, especially for those who feel they haven't felt welcome or safe in a worship space in quite a long time, I want them to feel like welcomed. I want them to feel genuinely welcomed and genuinely safe. And that's my goal. And I think at the moment I have that established well.
Yeah.
I have that established well.
So that's very giving, and that's very of everyone involved. I mean, those are fantastic. And when we, especially the season that we're in, or when this actually airs, have just passed or in the middle of, at giving that gift. You happened to come into my personal stream this morning. I was streaming some Immortals Phoenix Rising, and what happens in my stream is if somebody gives a gift, like they give bits or they sub or whatever, I'll play a song. And
I love that, by the way. That was awesome. That was awesome.
And I try to, if it's somebody that has been subbing or supporting for literally years, I try to find new songs to play. And I was looking for my songbook, and I found this book on crushing it at YouTube. I got that last Christmas.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I haven't read it yet. Can you think of a time when you've gotten a gift that you're like, This has been a while. I forgot I even
Yeah.
had this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're definitely going through that season right now because we moved this year. We moved in May of this year.
Oh.
What add on to a pandemic? But yeah, move. But we had been renting for a number of years. My wife has a private practice and as a therapist, and she's been killing it. And we just started to say, I think we're finally in a position that we can buy again.
Yeah.
And we started looking, and we fell into this house that we absolutely love, and moved. So packed everything up and moved. And trying to relocate the stuff of my life has been difficult. But I've kind of been finding some of it lately. Like I had gotten a book on chess that I had been needing to read, so I've started reading that again. I have a book, The View from the Medicine Lodge, which is a spirituality of Native Americans, which I've been learning about because I found out, and I did a TikTok about this. I found out I'm adopted. I didn't know my biology, so I did 23andMe and found out that I'm 20% Native American.
Oh wow!
Which I had no idea. It was a huge like. Are you serious?
That's 20%. That's nothing to shake. That's nothing to shake
19.5 or what? 19.5. Oh yeah, I know. And I was kind of like, oh my gosh, this is a huge part of it should be of my heritage. So I need to be learning about this. So I got some books on it because I know the general area of the country I was adopted from. So I know the tribes of that area and the nations of that area. But I don't 100% know that those families that I was adopted from had stayed there their whole life and moved around. As far as I know, my mother, which I began to do some more research, and I think I've tracked her to an obituary for about 10 years ago. But it doesn't look like she was as active in her heritage as maybe some others are. But still, I'm in this very fledgling understanding of it, so I'm trying to read on it and everything else. But then we moved, and I'm like, where'd that book go? I know it was here, and so little by little, I'm discovering these things recently as we keep putting more and more stuff away and emptying out more boxes. And oh well, here's that book, and oh well, here's this thing, and oh here's this game. That's the big one. Oh my gosh. The thing that you all were talking this morning about games you have that you haven't played.
Yes.
I felt so convicted. I was like, oh, take my name out of your mouth. That is, because last year I got Jedi Fallen Order.
Yes.
I got Star Wars. I got Star Wars Squadrons.
Ooh, I haven't played that yet.
And I haven't gotten that far in them.
Oh wow!
And I have Red Dead Redemption 2 that I got partway through, and then life just got ahead. The pandemic came, and I just didn't have time to play. As much as I love big cinematic games, it seems every time I start to get into one, like life comes along and says, "I'm sorry, you're not going to have 2 hours a night to play this game for a while."
Yeah.
And so most of my gaming now is much more short. Contest type stuff. Like I'm playing Pokemon Unite with my kids and by myself. I'm playing it a lot. I've got I put a retro thing on my phone, and I'm playing Pokemon Emerald right now. The old Game Boy Advance Pokemon Emerald. So scratching some old like kind of nostalgic itches and doing a lot of that. But like this morning when I was watching you play, what's the game again you were playing? Valkyrie
Phoenix Rising.
Oh my goodness! I was like, that game looks amazing. It looks like, and I'm like, and in the back of my mind, I'm going, how many games do you have? And so like I was like looking up. I was looking up how many things are in my Steam library that I haven't beaten. And
why would you do that to yourself?
I know, and even crazier. So I'm a maker. So and you, of course, this is great podcasting, but I'll hold it up for you. So I have this Intel NUC that a friend of mine wasn't using, and he gave to me. He gave me two, actually. One of them I turned into a Plex server, and I put all my Blu-rays and DVDs on it.
Yeah.
This one I'm building a retro arcade in.
Oh, so nice! Like a Raspberry Pi action.
Yeah. So it's the same. It's like Retro Pi, but this one's made for a little bit beefier processor.
Okay.
And so like here I am like trying these old games I played as kid. And it's scary it's scary how much the muscle memory was still there.
Oh.
I
Yes.
loaded up Dragon's Lair, and there were a few levels I could still remember what to do and got through. Then I got to ones I'm like, oh no, I can't remember this one at all, and it was all over. But at the same time, like, to hear those sounds and those songs and to see those splash screens and being like, oh, now I got to finish getting my joysticks made and set it up. I want to build a 4-player pedestal that can be rolled in front of our TV, so you can play the 4-player games like X-Men, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, NBA Jam, all those ones that were like the 4-player games that
the Simpsons.
Definitely the Simpsons. Yeah, those 4-player ones that, like, you had the different characters and you all, because I'm a huge cooperative gamer.
Yeah.
As much as I like a good story, I love a cooperative game that we're all working together. Even though MOBAs, yes, there's a winner and there's a loser, but like, we worked together to make it. In theory, you're working together. Sometimes you're dragging 4 people, but that's another story from the day. But like, a lot of the board games that we play are all cooperative, and I built an Artemis space simulator bridge out of old abandoned computers that I'll take to conferences for, that I'll do like the theology of cooperative gaming, and we'll have them play the game together. So yeah, I've got a lot of different things that, like, I still need to finish that I haven't finished those games. And like, I was just like this morning, like, I've been dwelling on that conversation, like, oh, which of my games do I need to go play? Because today my daughter has a half day off school, and my wife's like, we're gonna go get petties today, and I'm like, do I play games? And I know that she's gonna say, oh, and you have that huge wood pile you have to stack out back. So that's probably what I'll end up doing.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll have some time for games later. We'll have to see.
So I think that, that where this conversation leads us is just like, we have these gifts, these games, these board games that, we've gotten and we haven't done anything with, or that we have done something with. What does it look like as a Christian? What does it look like for us to get a gift, get a skill, get something, and then bring it into the new year? Like, over this past year, you and I, we have some things that we've both learned, and now we have gifts in this manner. What does it look like to bring that into the new year? How can we make sure it just doesn't sit by the wayside?
Well, I mean, I have always been bad that when I get out of the practice of doing something, it's very easy for my mind to fixate on something new to do rather than that thing that I've always done. I have had several games that have died on the vine in my life over the Christmas break because I don't play them. Right. Or projects or hobbies that we go into this mode. And don't get me wrong, I love to slow down. I love to connect with my family. I love to go home and visit my extended family. But because I get out of the habit, then I come back and I'm like, okay, I got to restart. And I got to be very careful about what takes the priorities of what I do. But it also is a great time to be intentional about doing something positive. What is the new thing I'm going to put in my life that is going to be helpful to me? So like, I finally found, speaking of things in the move, a friend of mine had given me a thing to turn my bike into a stationary bike for riding in the winter in my house.
Oh, wait, that's a thing?
Yes. Oh, yeah. They're called trainers, and you put them on the back wheel, and they offer resistance to the back wheel and lift it off the ground, so you can ride your regular bike as a stationary bike to train in the off season. And he had an extra one he wasn't using. He gave it to me, and I finally got it hooked up. So I'm like, okay, that's going to be a thing I want to do in the new year positively. But I've just got to commit to that. But as far as like the other things, man, just being in relationship with folks that have been creators and content and TikTokers, especially, guys like you who are, where do our faith and our geekiness, where does that cross and how does that fit together? That has been a huge gift for me, because as someone who enjoys connecting with people, at the beginning, the first half of the pandemic, before I was really getting into like connecting with folks online, I was in a pretty bad place. You know, I had to do some heavy therapy. I was doing the medication, and I'm still on anxiety meds. I make no bones. I talk about that all the time on TikToks. That, you know, I've got to tend to my mental health and my emotional health. But being able to have connections with people and forming and working together and collaborating to do new things, that is a huge gift, and allows me to point others toward other creators that are doing some really cool stuff, and they point folks back to me. And and I know everybody would say again, then we're building audience. Yes, we are, but more importantly, we're finding more folks for people to connect to.
Yes.
So like, you know, yesterday, one of the people I was talking to was like, well, I just got started in TikTok, and like, I'm getting all this stuff I want nothing to do with, because those first few days of the algorithm where they're just throwing everything at you. So I just went through and I sent him a message of like, here's a ton of people that you might like.
Right.
Go and interact with every one of them, follow them, comment on them, and that will start teaching your FYP what you want.
Yes.
So that's, you know, those type of connections that I've been able to form have felt much better than some of the ones I've had. I've had lots of online. I've been in guilds and stuff like that online, and games and everything. But this has felt different. Connecting with TikTok people has felt different, because we are talking about our lives, and and that's the goal. The goal isn't to defeat the monster. Do I still enjoy getting together with folks to defeat the monster? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's also a lot more fun to just know what people are actually doing.
Exactly.
And be on that journey.
I think for me, it's kind of on the same line where the gift that I've gotten this year, you know, socially, spiritually, is being able to be again on TikTok, but other social media as well, and getting to know people. Granted, I think TikTok, like you said, is the place where you really get to know somebody, because that's where they're putting their soul out there. But I've found people that are of different faiths, no faiths, and we are all vibing together.
Yeah.
And some of them feel like they can, if they have questions about what my faith is, they feel like they can come to me, because I'm not going to judge them.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to judge them. I'm not going to say, how do you not know this? I'm not going to be that person. Because my wife, back in the day, before all of this, because, you know, I've got some age on me as well.
Don't we all? Don't we all?
My wife told me this. I remember this story. She says, I never wanted to go to church because I was invited by some neighbor kids to go to church, and they were asking questions, like the Bible, it was, you know, Sunday school, and they were asking questions, and I couldn't answer the questions. And then they came to me and they said, okay, we got an easy one for you. Who were the first man and woman? And she's like, I don't know. You know? Did they even have names that we can pronounce? Right? Like, and they're like, Adam and Eve, you don't know that? No. Look, this is my first time in a church.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've noticed that as I have been engaging with more folks, that those who've been through trauma and been away for a while, and those who have, or those who have had no church experience, I've noticed it's affected my preaching on Sunday mornings. Because I am definitely keeping the basics in.
Right.
Like
Absolutely.
I do my best not to just use the lingo everybody would quote unquote should know if they're churchy. And I explain, like when I bring something up, when I talk about the fact that I preach the lectionary, which is a series of scriptures that are rotated throughout the year. I explain how that is. I explain the process of how do I choose the text I'm going to preach on, so that they understand I'm not just up here saying, well, I want to preach on this Sunday, so I want to go find a Bible verse that will let me do that. You know, I want them to know that I'm wrestling just as hard as they are. I want them to know, and I want to know what their questions are.
Yes.
I want to know what they're interested in. I want to know what their thoughts are. So, I mean, I would much rather have questions being asked by the people I'm engaging to me than me asking them questions and quizzing them. Yeah, that's where I'm interested. I want to know where they are and what they want to explore. And well, let's talk about that. Let's figure that out. Let's discuss, what that's like. I think you and I were talking the other day about how folks can appreciate the bare bones of a story, but once you open it up and understand the nuance, it becomes bigger.
Yes.
Like somebody can watch Infinity War and Endgame and just that.
Yes.
And yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting and it's neat, and they do a fairly decent job of letting you know who everybody is and why they matter. But because you've seen all the other stuff, you're like, oh wow, now I see how it all fits together. Really.
Exactly.
And which is why, as you expand your knowledge of scripture and you expand your knowledge of historical context and all the other pieces, then you start to really see how that all gets bigger.
Right.
Yeah.
And join us next month when that's our topic.
It's a good one. It's a good topic.
Cliff, thank you so much for being
here. You
are
so welcome, man. You're
oh
so welcome.
My goodness. This has been so fun. Definitely love to have you on again.
Would love to be back.
Where can people find you?
The main place you can find me that I'm doing the most stuff is RevNGeek, RevNGeek, on TikTok. I have a Twitter with that handle. I have an Instagram with that handle, and you'll see some stuff there. But TikTok is where my main focus is right now.
Awesome.
And through that has links to our church, and that has links to our YouTube page and our Facebook page. So if you want to find those things, you can find those things too.
So good. Thanks, Cliff. We will.
You're welcome.
We will definitely be checking back in with you. Man, I love talking with Cliff. If you guys have a chance, go to TikTok, follow him on TikTok. He does lives and he does great conversations. He gives out of his time to his community, and that's super important. He's a dad, he's a pastor, he's got a lot of people that are important to him in his life, and he gave to us to join us this month for God Games and Geekery, and that's not lost on me. Guys, I want you to take a look real quick here at Luke chapter 21, verses 1-4. And Jesus looked up, he saw the rich putting their gifts into the temple treasury. He also saw a poor widow put in 2 very small copper coins. Truly, I tell you, he said, this poor widow has put in more than all the others. All these people gave their gifts out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in all she had to live on. Guys, we're coming up on the new year. Couple of days, it'll be 2022. And I want us to concentrate on what gifts will we bring to each other this year. What is that going to look like? What can we do, say, who can we be for our fellow man to show them the love of Jesus? It could be a very simple gift, as in a hi, a hug, a fist bump. It may be that you sacrifice 1 month of PlayStation Plus to help out a family in need. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like for you, but I want you to figure out what that looks like for you. Guys, thanks a lot for hanging out with us. And as always, if you want to get a hold of me or any of the G3 crew, badgamer@lifepromotions.org, badgamer@lifepromotions.org. Or you can find us on Twitter as God Games and Geekery, or God Games Geekery, sorry. On Instagram, God Games Geekery. TikTok as God Games Geekery, and on Twitch every Thursday, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Unless, of course, I'm on the road with Quake, then we might not be able to do it. But twitch.tv/godgamesandgeekery. You got to spell out that and. Thank you for being here. Remember, you are geeky. You are loved. Peace.